What's up, y'all? It's Carla, aka Sila the Poet. Happy Saturday to everybody. I just came back from Bomba class a little while ago, and it was a really good class. I have something on my mind. So, for survivors out there of domestic violence and survivors of gun violence, I would like to talk about the issues that have been going on. So, first, I would just like to take a moment of silence for Vice Mayor Nancy Mateo Brown, Dr. Serena Fairfax, Pastor Tammy McCollum, Devonta Curtis, Victoria Alexander, Raven Edwards, Bianca Huntley, Barbara Deer, Ashanti Allen, Tionia Stokes, Gladys Johnson, Qualisha Sadidi, Barnes, the rapper, Danisha Heller, Gabriel Ayers, Carolina Flores Gomez, and Celeste Rivas. These are all women that have been unalived by their partners, or by someone they were dating or their husbands, within the month, except for Celeste Rivas. She was a 14-year-old that was found in the rapper David's Tesla, the trunk of his car, and she had been missing. So I would like to talk about the subject of violence. So I'm going to start with a few facts. So VAWA is the Violence Against Women Act, which was ratified in 1994. It was last reauthorized in 2022, expanded for tribal jurisdictions for Native American tribes so that they can prosecute non-indigenous perpetrators who commit SA, trafficking, and child abuse. So the idea of the VAWA, which is Violence Against Women Act, is to provide funding for the investigation and prosecution of violent crimes against women. It supports victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and victims of stalking. It provides housing protections, okay, no eviction for abuse related reasons, allows victims to file for immigration status without their perpetrator's consent. They can self-petition, okay? And confidentiality protections, okay? A work travel permit after 6 to 8 months of filing, no police report required to prove abuse, okay? And a rape shield law that prevents an offender from using a woman's past sexual conduct against them during a rape trial. Okay, so the VAWA also led to all states providing criminal sanctions for the violation of a civil protection order, and mandated victims don't have to pay for rape kits or exams, and authorized warrantless arrest in misdemeanor DV cases when officers determine there is probable cause. Okay? So I also would like to talk about some of the characteristics of an abuser. Now, whenever there is abuse, it's not always physical violence at first. It tends to be emotional abuse first, and then it becomes physical. Emotional abuse, these are some of the characteristics: constant criticism and belittling, isolation from family or friends, walking on eggshells, gaslighting and manipulation, blaming you for their problems or their feelings, extreme jealousy and possessiveness, monitoring and controlling your actions, dismissive and withholding affection, invalidating your feelings, making you feel guilty for their behavior, and anger, no accountability. That is the emotional abuse. Then comes the characteristics of an abuser. So, a person who abuses usually has low self esteem. They are narcissist, they have narcissism, lack of empathy, controlling behavior, aggression, and use emotional abuse and physical violence as well as sexual coercion. They blame others for their problems, expect the partner to meet all of their needs and be perfect, quick involvement, unrealistic expectations, hypersensitivity, meaning easily offended, cruelty to children or animals, playful use of force in sex. It eventually becomes real. Okay? They may be playing at first when they put their hands around you, but then it eventually becomes serious. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, extreme mood swings, threats of violence, breaking or striking objects, any force during an argument, meaning restraining you, pushing you, shoving you, holding you against the wall, insensitive, alienating behavior, and previous abusive relationships where they have abused ex-partners or other people. Okay? We as women have to be very careful out here. Okay? We have to be very careful out here. We have not only living in a patriarchy, but we have a very violent culture which glorifies violence and which loves to blame women for the problems of men. We have to be very, very careful. Okay? We do live in a country where there is the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, ratified in 1791, okay, which protects the rights of citizens to possess weapons of protection for themselves and their property. Now, this right is not absolute. Every state has their rules, okay, to regulate firearms, put restrictions on certain types of weapons, conceal and carry, and sales to prevent crimes and ensure public safety. My suggestion is every woman that lives in every state needs to find out about the gun laws in their state, the violence laws in their state, okay? The NRA, which is the National Rifle Association, is supposed to be able to give information about firearms and rifles. There is also a website called the gunresponsibility.org for those who are thinking of getting a pew-pew, a gun, okay? Black women are 3.5 times more likely to be unalived by a male intimate partner than white women. DV is the leading cause of death for Black women aged 18 through 45. Homicide is a leading cause of death during pregnancy for Black women. Okay? So we need to start looking at the problem of violence in our community. And it's not just our community, it also happens in the Latino community also, because there were 2 Latina victims that I mentioned. Okay? What makes perpetrators think that they have the right to be violent, inflict harm, or take someone else's life? This violence, this anger is a problem. Okay? The problem with patriarchy when it comes to this violence is the normalization of dominance, control, and entitlement. It often leads to violence. Economic disparity, lack of institutional support, and limited access to resources can also fuel anger that leads to violence. And with the Black women, it's also racism and misogynoir. So if the people in our community hate themselves because they were taught in a lot of ways to hate themselves, they were taught in the ghettos a culture of violence. Okay? If we hate ourselves, or we are taught to hate ourselves, our skin color, our hair, us as human beings, you're not going to be able to treat other people like human beings. If you are filled with hate, that hate is going to spill over to other people, and you are not going to care about harming others. When you are filled with hate, that hate always ends up spilling over and coming out eventually. Okay? We have a serious problem and we need to start finding solutions for it. Now, mental illness is real. Okay? Mental health problems are real, but they should not be used as a shield to deflect accountability. Okay? It is wickedness to try to cause pain and torment and harm for someone else, especially for a partner who just wants to leave. A woman, okay, or a man should be allowed to leave a relationship if the relationship is no longer working, or it has become toxic, or it has become violent. You should be able to leave and not have to worry about your life being threatened. Okay? Rest in peace to the 8 children in Shreveport, Louisiana, who were unalived by their father. The wife of the mother of those children was shot, and so was another woman. But this man took those 8 children and then also, from what I understand, was taken out as well. And this shows that we have a serious problem. We have to find solutions. You know, I am tired of my heart breaking. I'm tired of hearing these things. My sisters and their children being taken off this earth because somebody did not respect their right, their autonomy to leave or to say no to evil or detrimental behavior. Okay? So this is just a message for survivors. There are lots of resources and agencies that can help. If you are in a violent relationship and need help, please call 1-800-799-7233, which is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. For those of you that want to learn self-defense, there is Malika, okay, which is the Black Women's Defense League. Okay, it is anti-violence training. There is also NAGA, the National African American Gun Association. There is the Center for Anti-Violence Education. There is the Black Women's Defense League. There, for parents that have lost children, there is the National Organization for Parents of Murdered Children, POMC, and Mothers of Murdered Sons. There is also a femicide tracker if you want to find out information and statistics on the femicide problem. There is also an organization called Mothers of Murdered Angels. Okay? And there is also a gun violence prevention organization led by Chris Brown, K-R-I-S Brown. So these are organizations that you can get resources and that might be able to help. But this is just a check-in with survivors. How are y'all doing? I know that it's been hard for me. You know, I have been down and I have been thinking about all these horrible unalivings. I'm just trying to get my mental back on track. But I just felt I had to give this message of encouragement and empowerment. Okay? And there will be more content shortly. Peace.